What if I told you there's a fish out there that is basically a tiny airplane, and scientists just figured out exactly how it flies? And the answer is so weird, it made researchers stop and stare at their computers like they had just seen a ghost. Buckle up. This one is going to blow your mind. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about flying fish, and before you say anything, yes, they are real. No, they are not made up. No, they are not related to birds. They are 100% actual fish that launch themselves out of the ocean and glide through the air like little furry missiles. Except not furry. They are fish. You know what I mean. Okay, so let us start with the basics because we need to set the stage here. Flying fish live in warm tropical oceans all over the world. They are usually around the size of a ruler, maybe a little bigger. They have these enormous pectoral fins, which are the fins on the sides near the front of their body. And when they spread those fins out, they look exactly like wings, because that is basically what they are. Nature figured out the airplane before we did. Typical nature showing off. For a long time, scientists knew that flying fish could glide. That was not the mystery. People have watched flying fish launch out of the water for hundreds of years. Sailors used to talk about them constantly. Some of them even landed on the decks of ships. Which, if you are a flying fish, is a really bad day. But here is what nobody could figure out. How are they doing it so well? Because here is the thing. Flying fish are not just hopping out of the water and falling back in. They are genuinely gliding, like seriously gliding. They can stay in the air for up to 45 seconds. They can cover distances of up to 400 meters in a single glide. That is more than 4 football fields from one jump by a fish. Let that sink in. And they can reach heights of about 6 meters above the surface. That is roughly the height of a 2-story building. A fish, 2 stories high, just vibing in the air. So scientists decided they needed to figure out exactly what is going on. And what they discovered changes pretty much everything we thought we understood about how these incredible animals move. Here is the first big surprise. Flying fish do not just use their big side fins like wings. They also use their tail fin in a way that is completely unique in the animal kingdom. Right before they launch, they beat their tail back and forth super fast while the lower part of the tail is still in the water. This gives them an incredible burst of speed. We are talking around 60 kilometers per hour at launch. That is faster than most people drive through a school zone. This fish is going highway speeds before it even leaves the water. But that tail thing gets even more interesting. And this is one of the parts that made researchers genuinely shocked. The tail of a flying fish is asymmetrical. That means the bottom part is longer than the top part. For a long time, people assumed this was just a quirk of how flying fish evolved. No big deal, just a weird tail. But it turns out that asymmetrical tail is pure genius. By having a longer lower lobe on the tail fin, flying fish can keep their tail beating in the water while their body tilts upward at an angle. This lets them accelerate for longer before they actually leave the surface. It is like having a jet engine that keeps firing even after you have already lifted off the runway. No other fish does this. Actually, almost nothing in nature does this. It is a completely original solution to the problem of getting airborne. And flying fish invented it millions of years before any human engineer ever thought of anything similar. Here is the second giant discovery. When scientists used high-speed cameras and special measuring equipment to study flying fish in the air, they found that the fish adjust their fins constantly during the glide. This was not expected. Researchers kind of assumed the fish would just spread their fins and coast. But nope. Flying fish are actively managing their flight the whole time. They shift their fins slightly, they angle their body, they make tiny corrections. It is more like piloting than gliding. These fish are not passengers, they are pilots. The third thing that knocked scientists sideways is how flying fish handle turbulence. When the air gets choppy near the ocean surface, which it often does because of wind and waves, flying fish actually use that turbulence to their advantage. They ride rising air currents the same way eagles and hawks do. Thermal soaring. In a fish is using the same technique as a hawk. Someone please explain how that is even fair. Now, here is something that will make you look at the ocean very differently. Flying fish do not just glide once. When they start to come back down toward the water, they can dip their tail back in, beat it again, and relaunch. They can do this multiple times in a row, So one escape attempt can involve several connected glides with quick tail beats in between. Scientists recorded a flying fish doing this sequence and staying airborne through multiple relaunches for almost 200 seconds total. That is over 3 minutes of combined airtime from one fish trying to escape one predator. This fish has the energy of someone who just drank 4 juice boxes and refused to sit down. And that brings us to why they do all of this. Flying fish do not glide because it is fun, although honestly it might be. They do it to escape predators. Down in the water, there are things like tuna, swordfish, and marlins that would love to eat them. These are fast, powerful hunters. But they cannot follow a flying fish into the air. So the flying fish just leaves. It literally exits the situation. Problems gone. See you later. I live in a different dimension now. Bye. But here is the twist. Going airborne creates new problems. Seabirds are up there waiting. So the flying fish is basically choosing between 2 danger zones and trying to move through the air fast enough that the birds cannot catch it either. It is like escaping a shark by jumping into a room full of eagles. Bold strategy. Scientists also discovered something fascinating about the shape of flying fish fins when they compared them to actual aircraft wings. The fins of flying fish match up incredibly closely with the wing designs that aerospace engineers use for high-efficiency gliding. The curve of the fin, the angle, the thickness, the way air flows over it, it is almost identical to the wings on high-performance glider planes, except flying fish evolved this design hundreds of millions of years before humans built any aircraft at all. Engineers actually study flying fish now when they are designing new types of drones and small aircraft. The fish got there first. The fish won. One more thing before we wrap up. Flying fish have another wild trick. Their fins are almost completely transparent. You can see light right through them. Scientists think this might actually help them stay hidden from birds while they are in the air, because their wings do not cast a strong shadow. A shadow could give away their location to a hungry seabird looking down from above. So their wings are basically stealth wings. This fish has stealth technology. I am not even joking. So to recap what scientists just figured out, flying fish use a one-of-a-kind, asymmetrical tail technique to build speed and launch. They actively pilot their own flight instead of just gliding passively. They use thermal air currents the same way hawks do. They can relaunch multiple times to extend their escape. Their fins match the design of high-performance aircraft wings. And their fins are transparent for stealth. This is not just a cool fish. This is a flying, stealth, self-piloting, thermal surfing, jet-propelled escape artist that has been outsmarting evolution and aerospace engineering for millions of years. And we almost ignored it because it sounded too weird to be real. Nature always wins the weird competition. Always. So here is what I want you to think about and drop in the comments below. If you could borrow one ability from the flying fish, what would you pick? The crazy fast launch speed, the ability to glide forever, the stealth wings, or the power to just leave any situation by jumping into a completely different element? Let me know down below, and I will see you in the next one.